Why are fundamental movement skills important? Let's use an analogy from a core subject that we're taught in school. We'll use maths as an example. You can see on screen a few typical questions that may be asked in a junior cert. When 4 or 5-year-olds start in primary school, rock up in junior infants, you don't just give them those junior cert questions and say, work on these until you can solve them. We layer up to that through a series of incremental tasks where they learn the absolute basics and build up to being able to do more complex tasks, such as what we just looked at. For example, we generally get them to start off counting or even identifying the numbers first, then move on to addition and subtraction before going to multiplication and division, then long multiplication, long division before we start adding in various letters and symbols that often lead to serious confusion. If you think of a 6-year-old and you throw an X, a Y, an A, a B or a C into their maths questions, they get really confused because it's just too advanced for them. It can be somewhat similar when we look at really sport specific skills. Like we shouldn't really jump straight in with sideline cuts or hook kicks or dummy solos because they're just a little bit too advanced. We really need to focus on some of the building blocks or foundational skills that build up to those or combine together to allow us to perform those skills a little bit later in life. That's not to say we shouldn't expose them to them in some form. It's still great to see more experienced players, older siblings or players on TV performing all those skills to give them something to work towards. But realistically, we shouldn't really be focused on them under 6s or under 8s. We should try to develop those core fundamental movement skills and layer the more sport specific hurling and football stuff on top of that. We've previously discussed the importance of fundamental movement skills and how they can be important for both setting children up, play a number of sports as they get older and be somewhat successful in all those, particularly in conversation with P.T. Shaw, and also when I spoke to Carol Dillon about the importance of developing really skillful players across both sides, or bilaterality, and how important fundamental movement skills can be in laying a foundation for being really good off both sides, in both hurling and football. But how do they actually contribute to being more skillful and to giving you more opportunities to play a number of sports? Let's take a look at an example, and we're going to use the hand pass and hurling here, but you can apply the same to a number of skills across hurling, football, camogie or LGFA. So let's just think for a second of how a hand pass is performed in hurling. And I don't just mean performed in isolation, but let's see how it's performed in the context of the game and how it will contribute in a positive way to how the game is unfolding or where it's actually used in realistic terms. Briefly pause this video and try and make a list of how many different fundamental movement skills from the table shown on screen to see are important and relevant to the successful execution of a hand pass. Now some of these might be stretching it a little bit, but let's be realistic and see how it can actually fit in. So the obvious ones are throwing and striking with the hand. For successful execution, you're going to hope that the receiver is going to catch the ball, so that ties in catching. And because we're rarely just doing it, standing there receiving a ball no one around, there's probably going to be some form of dodging or sidestepping there as well. As we want to do it while moving up the pitch, running is going to be included, and maybe if it's not that accurate, might have to jump and land, and that's going to tie in landing, balancing and jumping and or hopping included as well. That's a list of 9 different fundamental movement skills, all applied to one of the simplest tasks in hurling once it's in the context of the game.